Greetings fellow Fright Fiends, and thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone. I hope everyone's doing well. Today's video is going to be counting down my top 10 werewolf films. I've been a big fan of the Wolfman since I was a little kid. Lon Chaney Jr. was the first representation that I remember watching. Just seeing pictures of him. I remember watching Creature Features when I was a real little kid, like maybe 3 or 4 years old, because it used to be on Channel 2. And late at night, and my mom and I would watch it. I was into the Wolfman character from like the Scooby-Doo cartoons and things like that. Everything changed for me in terms of the Wolfman being something I feared when I saw An American Werewolf in London. I've always loved the Wolfman character. It's such a tragic character, and there's been very different incarnations of him in various films. And these are the films that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not going to go into too much detail about each of these films, but these are my favorite werewolf films that you know, I go back and watch. Maybe I've only seen them a couple times, but they're ones that just really stuck with me, and I liked how creative they were, unique. Again, there might be some on this list that people don't like. There also could be some that I don't have on this list that people love. So just know that this isn't saying this is the definitive werewolf movie list. This is just happens to be the films that I particularly enjoy. And I thank everyone for dropping by. Also, real quick, before I get into this list, and big shout out to a friend of mine on Facebook. We've been friends for many years, chat back and forth, very similar interests with regards to horror movies and the horror genre. His name is Ali McNabb. He's from Liverpool. Sent me a really nice birthday message last week. Really brought my spirits up. It was nice to see, you know, somebody, having been, isolated for so long. It was really great seeing a friend, and even though we don't, we've never met in person, he sent me a nice video wishing me a happy birthday, which really meant a lot. Really appreciative for Ali for your friendship, and thank you so much for the kind words on my birthday. It really brought my day up because it was kind of a very non-eventful birthday. It's a very different birthday for me, but something like that, the nice message you sent me made it that much better. So thank you so much, good friend Ali McNabb. Thank you so much for everything. And without further ado, let's get to the countdown. So I have my little list I've written. I'm going to go through it. Like I said, these are my top 10. These are werewolf movies that I just really enjoy. Starting with number 10, Bad Moon, and this happens to be a movie I just watched in full. I've seen pieces of it over the years. The movie came out in 1996. It stars Mariel Hemingway and Michael Paré. It was adapted from a book. I believe the name of the book was Thor. I might be wrong. But Eric Red adapted and did the screenplay for it and directed it. And I really like this werewolf movie. Again, this is going back to, this is when they were doing, when practical effects were still, big, when CGI hadn't taken over yet. But I really like the werewolf effects in this. I like the story of this photojournalist who's like visiting his family in the Pacific Northwest, and he's changing into this creature at night. And the dog Thor is protecting the family. It was from the point of view of a dog, which I didn't know if it was going to work, but it really does work, and I really thought that the acting was good. There was some really good gore in it, some tense moments. I like the werewolf effects a lot, and I love the perspective of the dog Thor. And you can just see, just the way that Eric Red directed it, you really see him just studying this guy, Michael Paré's character, and knowing that there's something off about him. And I just really thought that that was really well done. And like I said, it actually is one that I want to seek out and pick up. I know Scream Factory did a release of it, so I will be actively seeking that one out. Number 9 for me is going to be Mike Nichols' Wolf, with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer and James Spader, that came out in 1994. I really liked this film. It was very different for Jack Nicholson, a horror movie. Of course he had done The Shining. This was like the next horror film he did. But, he plays he works for a publishing house, and driving back from a business trip, he strikes a wolf in the road, he gets bitten. He sort of starts taking more control of his life as he starts to morph into this wolf. And I thought the dynamic between him and Michelle Pfeiffer was really good, and I like the wolf effects. Really terrifying, really well done. Great soundtrack. The score is beautiful. It was directed beautifully, and it's one I don't actually own in my collection. It's one I would like to pick up. Number 8 for me is going to be a movie I just watched. It's on Shudder right now. It's called Howl. And I had seen like the cover for this movie, the DVD box, and I didn't think it looked very good, and so I kind of avoided it. And then it happened to be on, and of course, you know, while we're in quarantine, I just have been looking for things to watch and review. But I really liked Howl, and again, I think the strengths of this film, that it was on a lower budget. It's from Europe. I can't remember exactly what country it originated in, but it just deals with this commuter train that stalls, and it runs over something on the track. It stalls the train, and these people that are on this train are being stalked by this creature. And what I thought was really well done about the film is that you don't see the creatures very much. I think the strength of not showing the creatures so much is what made this film so great. You hear them scratching along the train, you hear the attacks that are happening outside the train. It's just really eerie and really well done, and I thought the cast did a great job. I was hooked from the beginning of it, and the effects, the tension, it was all there, and that's what made it so good. Just feel like you're in this isolated area and you hear things in the woods surrounding the train. It was just really, really well done. I definitely recommend Howl. I think it's underrated, and it's one that I want to pick up for my collection. Number 7 is the 2010 remake of The Wolfman. I know a lot of people were harsh on this film. This film happened to come out when the Twilight films were really big. It was kind of a different take on the Wolfman in those films, and I don't have a problem with those. You know, they exist. They're not horror films though, and this of course was a remake of the original film starring Lon Chaney Jr. And of course you have Benicio del Toro, you have Anthony Hopkins. You have a terrific cast in this film, and I really like the werewolf effects. I thought they were really well done. I wasn't crazy about the CGI transformations, but the fact that Rick Baker was able to do the Wolfman effects, I thought the makeup effects were just amazing, and there's some really terrific gory moments in this. Yeah, it's a great film, and I think it doesn't get enough praise. I think it kind of got overlooked just because of the timing that it came out in. Number 6 is going to be going more towards the comedy route. Teen Wolf. Michael J. Fox was one of my heroes growing up, and Teen Wolf and Back to the Future kind of came out around the same time. I love the Scott Howard character. I really related to him because I played basketball when I was a kid, so the whole thing where they're playing basketball and he turns into the wolf, and yeah, it's done and tongue-in-cheek and fun, but I really liked it. I thought it was a great film. It's got a terrific cast, and it's got a really sweet message, and for me, the movie never gets old. Number 5 for me is going to be Late Phases. I've also heard it called Night of the Lone Wolf. This is a film that I'm a big fan of Ethan Embry. I saw that he was in it. I also saw that Lance Guest, who I was a fan of from Last Starfighter, as well as Halloween 2, was also in this film. And it deals with this blind man. The actor is Nick Demisi, I believe is how you say his name. But he plays this blind vet who goes into this retirement community, and the people in this community are attacked by this wolf, and he goes up against it's almost like he plays detective of trying to figure out who this wolf is. And I just thought it was such an interesting premise, and there's some terrific gore in this film. Very, very violent. The main actor is so good in it, and I think it's completely underrated. Nobody talks about this film. One of the best werewolf films I've ever seen. Number 4 for me is going to be The Howling, of course, the Joe Dante classic, featuring Dee Wallace-Stone, who I had the honor of meeting, and she signed my copy of The Howling. This was going back about 3 years ago. Awesome lady. What an honor meeting her. But I've always loved The Howling. I love the effects in it. The Rob Bottin, of course, he took over for Rick Baker, because Rick Baker was working on the film, and then American Werewolf in London. He had committed to John Landis, so he kind of let Rob Bottin take over. He had done all the design work, and he went and did American Werewolf. But I love The Howling. It's a scary movie. The werewolf effects and transformations are amazing. And yeah, it's one of my favorite werewolf films. It's always freaked me out. And didn't like any of the sequels. I quit watching after like the fourth one, so I haven't seen any of the other ones. But yeah, the original Howling is a masterpiece and one of my favorite werewolf films of all time. Number 3 is going to go to the classic 1941, The Wolfman, starring the amazing, the late great Lon Chaney Jr. Terrific film. I love the look of the Wolfman. It's always been my favorite Universal monster. Tragic character. I love the makeup effects. I love just the way that the film is set, the moody atmosphere. Can't say enough great things about it. Number 2 for me is going to probably surprise people, but Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet is amazing. And I just picked up the Scream Factory release recently. Had a blast revisiting it, watching all the behind the scenes and interviews that they did. I'm heartbroken that Corey Haim died the way he did. He was so good in the film, as is Gary Busey. Terrific cast, and I think what brings that film so close to me is I grew up watching it. Of course, the film came out in 1984, so I saw it, and I think I saw it in 1985, 1986. It might have been after Lucas, because I think that was the first film I saw Corey Haim in. But really, the whole bond between Corey Haim and Gary Busey, the uncle character and the Uncle Red character, I love that dynamic. The whole family bond, that is the core strength of it. Of course, it's adapted from Stephen King's Cycle of the Werewolf, but I just think that's what brings it all home, is that what makes it so special is that bond between the family. And I'm a big family guy, so I think that's one thing that I was always drawn to. And I had my uncle Tom is someone I had looked up to a lot, and he was just like the Uncle Red character, just kind of bigger than life. And I was an impressionable kid when I was around him, and he was my mom's younger brother, so it's like, yeah, I had that connection to those characters, and I think that's what really kind of drew me to the film. I know there was issues making the film with the werewolf effects, but it's never bothered me, and I think it was really well done. I also absolutely love Everett McGill. He's always terrified me in everything he does. He's a really great actor, from like Twin Peaks, and he was in Under Siege 2, he's in People Under the Stairs. He's been in so many great things, but the character of Reverend Lowe has always scared me, and he does him so well, because when the film starts out, you just think he's this nice man. You see as it slowly goes on that, when it's revealed that he is the wolf, it's terrifying. And again, much like I was saying about Howl, I think the thing that makes this film so effective, because there are some shortcomings with the way the makeup looks, with the werewolf effects, but you don't really see the Wolfman for very long. Mostly he's in the shadows. And I think that's what makes it so well done. It's very effective. It still is a scary film. The music is amazing. The direction was fantastic. This was Daniel Atia's first film, which I found out watching the Scream Factory behind the scenes stuff. It's just really, really well done. Film is amazing to me. I love it. I never get tired of watching. And number 1 for me should be no surprise to anybody that's been a fan of this channel and followed me for a while. American Werewolf in London will always be my favorite werewolf movie, and I am so glad that the remake that they were talking about doing, that John Landis' son was going to do, is falling through. I've heard other rumors, though, that it might still happen. I don't know if it's still going to be with Max Landis, but they just need to leave it alone. Do another werewolf movie. Do something else. Do a different werewolf film. Don't touch this one, because to me, American Werewolf in London is a masterpiece. You can't top perfection. And I know the film is old. I mean, it's 40 years old now. But the effects in that film, the transformation scenes, everything about that film is amazing. Not only from the cast of David Naughton, who I had the honor of meeting 4 years ago, one of the greatest experiences ever. Him, Griffin Dunn, Jenny Agutter, everybody in the cast is fantastic. The effects by Rick Baker are amazing. Say what you want about John Landis, he's never been my favorite director, but this film is the best film he's ever done. Again, not seeing the creature, hearing it, the wolf sound, which is still terrifying to hear. Them trying to get away from it on the moors, the attack on Jack and David, one of the most adrenaline producing scenes I've ever seen. I saw this film when I was very young, and when you finally see the reveal, again, very sporadically throughout the film, of the creature, it still is the scariest werewolf they've ever put on film, and absolutely amazing design. Rick Baker based it on his dog Bosco, because originally he wanted the Wolfman. His original concept for the design was like the Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman from the 40s. John Landis wanted to do it more like a devil hound, and that's where he got the inspiration to do it. Was his dog Bosco had a snout that was very similar to what they did. And yeah, the film is a masterpiece. I've talked about it so many times on this channel. Can't get any better than that, and I hope they never ever remake it. So that is it, fellow fiends. Top 10 werewolf films. I thank everyone for taking the time to stop by. Again, this is my list. I'm not trying to define it for anybody that might have a pick that I didn't talk about, or maybe don't like a film that I enjoyed. But if you have a top 10 werewolf list, please put it down in the comments below. Let me know what your favorites are, and let me know what your least favorites are. Really appreciate all the support, and I hope everyone's doing well. So take it easy, take care of yourselves, stay scared as always. Peace. Thank everyone for taking this time to drop by the Horror Zone. It really means a lot to me that people are supporting what I do here. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button down below. I upload videos at least once or twice a week. It would really mean a lot if people would spread the word about this channel. This is a passion of mine. I love the horror genre, and I'm really happy to share my love of it with all of you. So thanks so much again for checking it out, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy. Peace.